Good morning, everybody. How are you?
Good morning.
Good. Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm glad to hear the energy. I was hoping for a few fantastic, superbs, splendid. Just get some other adjectives outside of good or great. Um,
Magical.
oh, that's great. I love it. Well, I'm glad we could do these monthly. So for those early joiners and actually are on time, if you have content that you have recommendations on, you'd like to see training come from the region, please type that in the chat box. I'll revisit that at the end of the training as well, because this is really a time for the region to pour back into our agent business partners as well as the market centers. So if there's any particular topics you'd like addressed moving forward on a monthly basis for about an hour, I'm happy to prep that work up and make sure that we bring back the training and education that you all as agents need and want in your business. So please feel free to do that. All right, so I've got 11 o'clock. We'll jump on this and get it, give it moving forward. So, I'm really excited about the content for this presentation and training today. Promise we will get done by 12 o'clock, no later. So we're going to do some updates just on some of the COVID phases that are in. I'm going to give some updates on production. Then we do have Teresa Grant is going to be on talking about Lenora. One of our agents in Lynchburg that was unfortunately victim to an attack at an open house. So she'll be going through what we're doing as a region to give back to Lenora and support her, as well as going through some open house safety aspects that they put out in Lynchburg. So I wanted to give a huge shout out to Teresa on that one. And then we'll be going into training from Ben Jones, who works for Lacido Agency as a agent with them, as well as the productivity coach in Washington, D.C., going through his open house plan system for before, during, and after. And then we'll wrap up with just some education and updates from the region. So that'll be our run of show today. Went through that. I want to talk about growth. So growth is never by mere chance. It is the result of forces working together. So I look at growth as really you putting in the activity and having the plan and being systematized and having the accountability and structure to act on those activities. So this has to do with the idea of having a plan and executing on the plan. So I wanted to bring everybody some awareness for the region. We had closed out transmittal for June. Unfortunately, we don't have the updated numbers, but I wanted to get some perspective around the KW production for the West Virginia region. And what we've seen is for year to date, year over year. So what I'm talking about is January to May of 2019 compared to January to May of 2020 is our unit count for 2020 year to date through May was 9,181 units as a region. Now, what's interesting about that is even with COVID during, starting up in March, our year-to-date production is only down 5% in units. So I just want to bring awareness to transactions are still happening, right? That agents are going out there, homes are getting sold, clients need to be serviced, and to really get off that couch and make sure that you're being safe, you have a business plan, you're taking care of the needs during our different phases within COVID in Virginia. But I'm giving perspective on the production that's actually happening. When you look at closed sales volume, it's down only 1% year over year. We had 3.7 billion in sales volume happened year to date. When you look at contracts written, it's down 6.8%. At listings taken, it's down 16%. So I'm flagging that because that's your lead indicator in your business as an agent. That those transactions for contracts written and listings taken will show up in the next 60 to 90 days in your business. And that's a reflection of taking the foot off the gas pedal. And as you look back at our historical transactions, like there's not a huge dip from the pandemic. Homes are still moving. So I want to bring everybody privy to the fact of figure out your business, go out there, get into your clients' relationships and move that stuff forward. Because even with GCI, the GCI produced by our agents year to date is 97 million. And compared to that same period of time in 2019, it's only down 2%. So for the opportunity to go out and get business, the numbers are indicating that our year over year has not dipped. And we need to make sure we've got the right mindset and the right strategy on how to produce business during this time. So that's what I want to talk about with growth. So continue out there, business is going, keep it going. Within COVID updates, you'll see that we have hit a peak in all 3 jurisdictions and has gone down. The new cases over the 7-day average has increased a little bit. That's probably obviously due to some of the going into phase 3 and lifting some of the stricter regulations on engagement. We can still see that we're well below our peaks, and we're definitely transitioning to a flat curve there. So you've got 70,000 cases in Maryland, 66,000 cases in Virginia, about 10,000 cases in Washington, D.C. Washington was the slowest to get access to testing. Going into West Virginia, you've got a little over 3,000 total cases with 95 deaths. So that state hasn't had as much impact, but we're also trying to trend on how much information is accessible through testing. So I'm going to kick this over. So Teresa, if you want to unmute yourself and just give an introduction of who you are, and then just go into what's going on with Lenora.
Yes. Hi, everyone. I am Teresa Grant, operating principal in the Lynchburg Market Center, Lynchburg, Virginia. Lenora, sadly, is my agent and my personal assistant who was viciously attacked during her open house a couple of weeks ago. And sadly, I hear that we've had another agent attacked as well in another market. Lenora she was, hit 10 to 12 times, had many lacerations on her head. We just got her staples out last week. She is still on a walker and has some hearing problems on one side where she was hit so many times. And just wanted to kind of give you an update on her. She is doing better. She still has a lot of dizzy spells and headaches. But mentally, she seems to just be a fighter. And I kind of want to go by a little bit what we've done in our market center. I did share this with Joe yesterday. We have a new format and procedures that we've created, in the name of Lenora, to basically let people know what to do when you're doing an open house. I'm a real estate agent. I've been doing this for 17 years. And to be honest with you, I just very seldom have ever felt unsafe. So Lenora was in a house that was not in a secluded area. She had a lot of, a whole lot of people around her. She had houses, they were close together. So when someone is either wanting to rob you, rape you, or kill you, sometimes they just don't use good sense. They don't have good sense anyway. She was or is a 2nd degree black belt. Her size and, compared to his size did not give her a whole lot where she was able to fight him. But mentally, she was trained what to do. And I think that's the one thing that I realize is, am I mentally prepared? And I think, we're trying to get our agents and get some training on self-defense as well as the mental game. She wore him down mentally because she fought him so hard and she would not do what he asked her to do. So, at this point, these are some of the things, that we are doing in the open house. Involve the sellers, bring a friend, be ready, market safely. Stop saying, I will be here. You need to say, we will be here. Because if they're targeting someone, they're going to target, someone that's alone. Park
So-
your car where you can escape. Make sure you know the exit routes in the house. And my favorite one is just crack open a window a little bit so that if you're screaming, someone can hear you. Our houses are very well insulated these days. Always have a buddy, bring your spouse, bring your best friend, bring another realtor with you. Do not do these alone. I think the world is so volatile right now that it's probably more likely, that there's just a lot of people that are desperate financially and emotionally. So these are just some of the things that we've tried to do to prepare it. Have your phone in there, have it charged. Don't bring your purse in, leave it laying around, but absolutely make sure that you tell people that you would like their ID, take a picture of it and say that you have to send it to the office. This will, right there, they're going to know that their ID has already been sent. So these are just a few of the things that we're doing, and we're happy to share what we've prepared with anyone that would like it. And we can also share it in a PDF where you're able to critique it and change it for your market center.
Awesome, Teresa. Yeah, we've got that packaged. I've sent it over to the region, so we'll get that out to everybody. So thank you, Teresa, for putting that together.
Absolutely.
Let's go into during the open house. What's going on here for your points here?
For during the open house, go early, as realtors, we're always sliding in last minute, get there early. You need to prepare anyway. You have things to do. Park intentionally so that your car, has an exit route. You don't want to be trapped in by the person, and inspect the home and address the situation, and just know when you're there, how do you get out? Is there a window to escape through? And also, you just want to check the closets and make sure that no one's there. I personally had my car, this is in Florida, but I had my car stolen out of my closed garage. People do hide in houses. So, you just have to be diligent, and don't think that you can just rush in there and you're going to be okay.
Gotcha. So what are you doing after the open house?
So after the open house, you want to check all the doors, assess the home, check the windows. People are, if they're looking to come back, a lot of times they'll sneak down into a basement or another room and they'll unlock the door. And you have to do this to protect your own seller. And then just phone the seller, text them, let them know that you're leaving. But you have to respect your seller as well as yourself, and just make sure that they're protected and you haven't left anyone in the house. And that's another thing too, make sure that everyone's gone and you don't have any, lag behinds in the home.
Gotcha. And in the unfortunate event that something occurs, what's going on? What do you recommend doing?
Well, remain calm. And that's what Lenora did. And Lenora has helped us so much to understand, because she's been in that situation. She just kept telling him, you need to leave. No matter how many times he hit her and how many times he asked her to lay on the floor, he asked her to go in the bathroom. He kept trying to get her in a vulnerable position, but she just would not allow him to do it. And she just kept screaming. And, you can only fight someone so much, if they're larger than you. But the one thing that you can do is remain calm and just try to talk yourself through it, and refuse to do what they want. Because if you get in a vulnerable position, then you're going to end up, in a place where you may not make it out alive.
Gotcha.
And, but stay in an open place, and call 911. But that's why your phone needs to be with you. People can knock your phone out of your hand, but there are apps now, and Lee Beaver shared a great app with me, which I'm happy to send that over to everyone. But this app basically, it will actually alert whoever you have in there if anything happens to your phone. If you drop it or something, goes on, you'll have like certain people in there. And then if they can't reach you, then they know there's a problem.
Awesome. Well, I want to go back to this slide and go tell everybody in the region what we're doing for Lenora. So, you know what? I can fill in the backs. So, Teresa, what are we looking to do for from the regional standpoint as well as the Lynchburg office for Lenore? I think with your story and your close relationship with her, rather have that come from you, and then I can fill any gaps we're working on the back end for the region to really help support her.
Wonderful. With Lenora, we do have a GoFundMe page, which has been great because it's out there nationally. So many beautiful, gracious people have donated. We feel like this is really going to help her with her medical and her future. You know, we don't know what her future is going to be, whether it's emotional or physical. So we want to make sure that she's taken care of. We do have the place where she was attacked in Mariner's Landing. The new owner, who literally just purchased the property, the community, he has offered her he has some little suites out there. They're just little one room with a kitchen and bath. And he has offered that to her at no charge for as long as she needs it. But our ultimate goal with the region is to try to, you know, purchase a condo for her so that she has a home.
Awesome. Yeah, so on the regional side, we're trying to raise as much money on the GoFundMe page for Lenora to help out with medical bills and the home purchase. And then once those funds become exhausted, that's what we're submitting for the KW Cares grant. So she'll actually get 2 rounds of funding within this to help her through this period of time. So the region is also going to be sending down a film crew to highlight the support and drive that Teresa and the Lynchburg office has given to supporting Lenora in this, and really tell our story from a cultural standpoint, and to really make sure that during this time for Lenora that she's fully supported by the KW family. So is there anything I missed on there, Teresa, that the group should know?
Yeah, that's, you know, I just want to say that how much I appreciate the phone calls and the letters. She has so many boxes of cards and letters that have come to our office, and the support through GoFundMe and, you know, the KW Cares. I just don't know another company, you know, this is actually why, you know, from everything else that Keller Williams has to offer, this was the #1 reason why I opened my market center, because people just don't know when they're going to be in need one day. And very few companies can support that, especially real estate companies or 1099 employees. So I just want to say thank you to Keller Williams.
You're more than welcome. We appreciate you and everything you do. And then we're here to support any of our agents that go through this stuff. So really to have you, and thank you for being part of the family as well. So, all right. So let's transition. We're going to be transitioning over to Ben Jones. So Ben, tell us a little about yourself. Why are you special? And then I was really impressed by going through your open house strategy a couple weeks ago, and I just wanted to share that. So tell me a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, well, thank you, Joe, for inviting me to talk today. And I'm going to share my screen in a second here. But I also wanted to kind of piggyback what Teresa was saying, that it's really amazing to have such a big family within Keller Williams. You know, being with Keller Williams Capital Properties spanning 2 regions, it's great to have bigger families to be a part of and share great ideas with. And some of the things I'm going to share today are best practices developed from Lucido Agency that I'm a partner with, because it's not just Virginia, DC, and Maryland, it's also nationwide that we can figure out what these best practices are. We've always focused on that with KW, you know, skill set, how to get more appointments, how to run better open houses. And the conversation today is really transferring into how can we develop best practices around our personal safety and the safety of the clients and consumers that we're interacting with. So Joe said, I'm out of the Washington, DC offices, and I'm a partner with Lucido Agency. I've also been with KW for 8 years, and I am the productivity coach for DC, which means that I am helping the next generation of agents put in these best practices, and all of us together can really elevate the industry. So I'm excited to be here today, and I am crazy excited to be back out there doing open houses, because as extroverts being hidden in an office for too long, we need to go out and talk to people and just get their energy up and our energy up. And let me go ahead and share the screen. I have some links I want to share with you as well. Let me go ahead and do this first. So here is a COVID-19 open house. So Teresa was just talking about safety, and we'll kind of weave that in as we talk about our own personal safety. I really want to share, why open houses are important and how we can continue to do them in the manner that is helpful to everyone without sort of, laying back because we're worried about different things. We are worried about health and safety. Our clients are worried about health and safety. So what can we do to really shift that mindset and teach people that we are putting protocols into place that is going to help people? There's my info. You're welcome. And open houses are a source for lead generating for buyers and sellers. Do not forget that it's very much a way to lead generate for sellers. People tend to focus on the buyers, but some of the things that we're going to talk about is going to put potential sellers' mind at ease as we are having conversations with them. National Association of Realtors says that 1 out of 7 people, consumers, choose their agent from someone they met at an open house. So we can't leave this lead generation off the table. We have to figure out a way to get in front of these people who are raising their hand and saying, hey, I have a question about real estate. Let's chat about real estate. Let's set that appointment. And if you're doing it correctly and you're working on your skills, you're going to get leads, you're going to get appointments. And this is not, a conversation about specific scripts, specific sort of best practices on where to put up signs. We have a lot of those trainings. But I want to just focus on what, we've been learning about what works well in a COVID environment right now so that we can get out there this weekend and get in front of the consumer. The benefits to the open house, of course, this is sort of low hanging fruit. They are very inexpensive. They are high exposure, high return on investment, and you get to qualify leads as they're coming into the door, and you get to meet buyers and sellers. We have to then do this while making it seem like we're making a change, that we're signaling that it's safe for people to come in an open house and it's safe for us to interact with people. This really falls into the line with everything National Association of Realtors and finds out when they are asking people why they choose their agent. People don't want someone who has been in the business for 30 years. They want someone that they trust. They want someone who's professional. And the more that we systematize our business, we are a company of systems, tools, and models. Follow these procedures, do the same thing over and over, plus it, make it your own, make it better every single time. And we will be signaling that we're changing our behavior to match the market. And we are signaling that we're putting their safety and our safety under consideration. And that will help you when you're talking to neighbors, show them that it's safe to list your home because we're going to do this and we're going to systematize it. And what we need everywhere is inventory. So this is a way to really control the market and be that better agent and that better company than our competition. Kim Giles, who's with Fulcrum Properties and teaches all over the globe, she teaches open houses in a way that has always stuck with me, that you need to think of it as a party. This is a big event and you cannot prepare a party 24 hours in advance. So I'd like to steal that from her because it makes sense. You have to set yourself up for success. You have to plan it out. You have to do social media posts. You have to invite your friends. You have to invite the neighbors. You can't just use this as 10 minutes before the open house. You're showing up and hoping for the best. Some of the things that you need to do to open, to do that are right into the command area. So there's some help articles that I just put into the chat box on how to set up some command campaigns and social medias, campaigns, paid and unpaid, so that you can get the word out there better. And then just a great resource that I love, a open house classic edition from Ignite. It has amazing scripts just to talk to people as they are coming in. you have to be proactive. And these are some of the things that you're thinking about from a, how do I generate the best business? How do I generate more appointments? As well as how do I kind of think about that safety? So some classic things we always talk about, where's the location of the open house? Studies show that 50% of people stop by open houses on a whim. So the location, the time frame, where you put the signs, those are all things that are very important. You have to be proactive. You have to go preview it for your personal market knowledge. And as Teresa was saying, so that you know where your exits are, you know where your liabilities are, you understand the house and the grounds in the neighborhood, so that you can make better decisions when you're at that open house. We still want to do lead gen, and door knocking is slowly coming back. I've seen some people, talk to their neighbors from the porches. I've seen people pass out mini bottles of hand sanitizer. We're just coming from contribution, talking to people, finding out ways to kind of get in front of more people for that numbers game. And then calls. If you're preparing for this open house, you do have the opportunity to think about, who are my leads who would be interested in this neighborhood? Who do I know in this neighborhood? Just make those care calls, tell people what you're doing, post those pictures on social media when you're previewing, do a video walkthrough with permission, and really get the word out there, because it's not just what happens at the open house, it's what you're doing around it and how many conversations about real estate that you can have. And then that bottom left-hand corner. Yes, sir.
I got a question for you. So you've hit on two limiting beliefs within open houses. One, I saw you say that you can actually get qualified leads and buyers and sellers from an open house. As I've been told a lot of times that open houses aren't worth it because you don't actually get anybody through it.
Yeah, well, there's no excuse that you have to go to brunch, because you're not doing that right now. So you have a free Saturday and Sunday afternoon. I do know that. So that one limiting belief that you don't have the time, that is there. But the leads are there. I will reiterate that 1 out of 7 consumers chooses their agent at an open house. It is a job interview. So if you were going to any other job interview and the prospective employer walked in and you were just lounging on the couch looking at Instagram, you probably aren't getting the job. If you show up at 12:01 with a bunch of signs and you're rushing around, you're probably going to fail that job interview. But if you show up with a system, you're prepared, you're professional, you engender trust with the person that you're talking to, then you have that opportunity. And some of the things that I'm going to show you that I specifically have put into place are showing the community that it is safe to list their home. The sellers are watching us. Like, do not think that people in the neighborhood don't watch your car and watch you put out signs and watch how hard you work. You have to show that you are killing it out there and hustling for those buyers and sellers. And that will allow those neighbors to say, huh, this person knows what they're talking about. And they're putting systems in place to make sure that my family is protected as we go forward to get this house on the market. So
what I'm hearing you say is that the more strategic your plan is, from a calendar, like a 10-week run up, or I'm sorry, 10-day run up, to how you look at your sign posting, how you reach out on social media, the type of phone calls you're making. So there's actually a system, and if you've got a strategic system to drive awareness for your open house, the quality of your leads actually go up higher.
Yeah. I think that's a truism with everything, isn't it? You have to, you have to have the trained reflex of spontaneity, Bull teaches us. You have to be, this is never a time to practice your skills. This is just a time to implement them. And part of that is, in the lower right-hand corner of having, awareness of how am I going to interact with buyers? How am I going to interact differently with neighbors and sellers? And what's that follow-up plan going to look like? And I'm going to show you an immediate follow-up plan here in the next couple slides. But I do want to focus on that bottom left about having a co-host. Teresa said Yeah, bring a friend, bring a spouse, bring a kid. It's just not worth it anymore to even think about that we can protect ourselves. It's more fun if you have someone else there. And we just have to have that air of safety. One of the best ways to have a co-host that is really doing a win-win for Keller Williams is reaching out to those new agents and giving them a shadow opportunity. You know, think back when you were brand new and what you would give to have an ALC member or top agent say, hey, come shadow me at an open house. And at this point, it's going to be who is manning the door, because we want to put safety protocols into place with, we know who's coming in and out. We know who's signing in and out. And there's someone who can be there to make sure that they're getting the correct information, the correct data, and basically being your hostess, your concierge for the open house, while you as the more experienced agent are working to create those appointments and build that rapport. So however you want to work that out with people, whether it's just a learning opportunity, whether you are helping with some leads, that is up to you, but find another person to be there. It is just so much easier. And you know, for any of us who work in condos, goodness knows having a second person to run up and down the elevator, let people in, is really the only way that you can have a successful open house in a condo. But then taking that to the opposite extreme, if you are in an isolated single family community with acreage, just having that other person there it makes buyers and sellers and open house guests feel more comfortable as well, because we may not want to be in the house with someone alone. They may be thinking the same thing. As I touched on, we have these systems in KW through Command that make it super easy to set up social media campaigns. So utilize that and talk to your tech ambassador, do the training, have a lot of fun with it, and just try it out. Put $5 towards it, see what happens. So now I kind of want to get into kind of real world. These are some things that I want to illustrate. This is pictures that Joe saw that that inspired him to holler at me to come on this call today. And the main things on here that I want to point out, on the left-hand side, we have a bunch of different types of open house signs. All my other signs are big red rectangles with my name, with my phone number. I double them up on corners. I have them at all the main intersections. You know, based off of where you're doing the location, you know, you have to scope that out and choose where your signs are going to be. But then I also have some other things as well. I have the flag, and before I get any feedback on some communities don't like flags, don't like balloons, I like to ask for forgiveness. I think they make an impact. And I always go back to that idea that I understand that 50% of people just wander in. They're not looking this up beforehand and strategically thinking, I should go to an open house. They really, really are looking at your signs and following those directionals. What you can also see behind that red flag of open house is there is a laminated sheet on the door with the rules. We are entering a new world, and the welcome setup that you do when you're setting up your open house is going to help people understand that it's safe to walk in. They may even walk up to the door, and we've seen this, you know, before. Some people will drive by and they'll kind of decide if they want to go into the open house or not, and then they keep driving or they stop. So the more welcoming you can make it, and then the more clear that we're following a protocol, is going to help people feel like they're safe. This is where I would suggest that you have your helper. Here you can see I have a sign on the door. I also have a sign when you walked in. This was a row house, so I was able to set up a little table with the rules that we were going to follow. I'll go into that deeper in a second. There was a clipboard with a waiver. I'm not doing sign-ins anymore. I am doing a waiver, and I'm communicating that I need their information. I love what Teresa said about taking a screenshot of their ID. What I put into place was that I mandate that I need their name, their phone number, and their signature at bare minimum. And then I will immediately text them through the KW app, of course, the listing information so that they have everything that they need. I'm not giving out paper. We're not, touching things communally, but I am verifying right there that I have their cell phone number. I mean, what a great win for follow-up practices, right? Because then I can send them a video. I can, I have their contact information, and be honest with them and let them know we're doing our best to figure out what works. We do want to have an opportunity to contact trace, but then it also allows us to give them the information about the house in a green fashion. It also gives you time to just stop them right there and let them know what's going to be happening in the open house. As you can see, I have disinfectant, I have pens. Those can be single-use pens, or I can take them back and set them aside to sanitize later. And if you're being really honest and forthright, you're giving them good communication up front. We all know that good communication up front solves all problems on the back end. And you can let them know that if there's other people in the open house, that we're going to wait in the little lobby area or wait outside. I have seen some people do a sign up and have them wait in their car, and they'll text them, or when they see someone leave the open house, you can come back in. Whatever kind of works for you, but use these sort of rules to modify. And this, again, if you're looking at sellers, this is going to show people what you're going to do differently when you list their house. It gives you that opportunity to then talk about the appointment. And when people come in the house, think about 6 months ago at an open house, they want the flyer, they want to walk around, they want to ask you questions. This gives you a chance to honestly just slow down, like build rapport, chit chat about them, give them that sort of care call of how have you been? How does it feel to be at an open house? I want to make sure that we're safe here. And that rapport and that trust before they even start pestering you with questions about the listing is really important to make sure that you can have a better experience with them. I also love if there's only one person in the home at the time, they know that they have to, ask good questions and get good communication because people may be waiting, but you're also not going to lose track of anyone. You're going to be able to dig a little bit deeper about their motivation and about why they're there. And just like we see during the holiday season, we have fewer looky-loos that come in because people do have to be very serious, or on a holiday weekend, that sort of thing. People who are just looky-loos are probably not going to be that sort of third of the population willing to come into an open house. So these people are going to be more serious potential clients. All of this is just a win for going back to the open house. So this is what I laminated and put on the door. This came from my team with Lucido Agency, develop best practices over time, and it's just letting them know, we're going to social distance. We unfortunately are not allowing kids in the house right now. We're going to be cognizant about what we're tracking in with gloves, shoes, masks, of course, are required, and making sure when you set up the house that all the doors are open. And if they do see a closet that's not open, that they ask for it to be opened, that they're being aware of what they're touching. And of course, bathrooms are off limits. So it is a very, it becomes a showroom that we're respecting rather than, something that we're just digging into. So make sure all the lights are on, bring door stops so that doors can be held open, and just make sure that you walk through it first as that consumer and think, what are the things that I would need to touch, or where are my bottlenecks, so that you can be prepared for that. In my particular open houses, I may say on this list that we're only having one group at a time. I found it worked really well to have one group per floor. So if there's someone, they see the first floor, they go upstairs, let that other group in, and they can be in the back of the house while the other group goes out. But it allows you from that safety perspective to know where everyone is at all times. We have to be a little bit more aware. Just some more, another version of our open house safety guidelines that I had out for people. Just again, letting them know, hey, you have to wear a mask. You have to social distance. You have to give your information and sign a waiver. And here's a certification for property access. It has the information of, if you've been sick or around someone who's sick in the last 14 days, please don't come in. You're getting their real information because then you're double checking it before you even let them enter in the home. And you're showing them that we have pivoted and we care about your health, and we have models and systems and tools in place. And of course, in person is not the only way, right? We also want to have virtual open houses. And there's been lots of talk over the last couple of months of what works, what doesn't work. We are all learning this together. Wendy Papasan said in a talk in April that, the people who are doing this at a high level, you're only a couple weeks behind them. So you can catch up really quickly to get really good at virtual open houses. And this is a screenshot from a video that I did for Instagram that was doubled on Facebook. And the virtual open house really just becomes a walkthrough. You're just walking and talking, pointing out the best features. Go live on your social media. You may only get a handful of people who watch it, this 2-minute video when you have downtime or before and after your open house. But over the next week, you will get hundreds of views. It really does go to a much wider audience than you may suspect. So this isn't a professional photo, professional video. This is just you being real and showing off this home. And it's showing your entire sphere of influence that you're out there working, that you're putting protocols into place, you're communicating to buyers and sellers what you're doing differently in your own sphere. And you can have a little bit of fun with it. So don't overthink what a virtual open house is. Anytime you're previewing a property with permission, you can have a virtual open house because you are doing these 5-minute open houses a dozen times a week. It doesn't have to be you sitting in front of Zoom for 2 hours hoping people log in. And it gives you a chance to follow up with the people because you can see who views your video. And it can kind of, ping your memory of who should I be talking to? Oh yeah, this person I haven't seen in a while. It's just a really, really great way to get in touch with your sphere of influence. And then you go to a listing appointment and you say, I'm going to do a virtual open house. And let me show you how many views I get. So I may do an open house and, I'm going to send out 250 cards to the neighborhood. I'm going to host a VIP neighbor only open house. I'm going to, have these people come here. We're going to try to get 20 groups into the open houses over the weekend. And I'm going to do these ads through KW Command that are going to reach thousands of people. Let me show you how I do that. I'm also going to do a virtual open house, and I'm going to get hundreds of people who view that. And all of us are friends with realtors online. So it's not just our sphere. It's a way for us to get that information out to other real estate agents who work in our area. So really leverage this as part of your listing appointment on what you're going to do differently. And if you're waiting for things to go back to normal, you are missing out on really great opportunities to show that you do things better and differently and more safely than anyone else. In KW Command, you can also create a landing page. Like I said, I like to just send people the information right as soon as they sign in. So I definitely know I have it. And then they're already in my phone. So I can just go ahead and send them a thank you for visiting my open house video later that day. Have an opportunity to follow up with them. And basic safety stuff, I think Teresa went a little bit deeper than this presentation goes, so I really appreciate that. These are just basic reminders. Park on the street, meet the neighbors. I love the old school style of when you're putting a sign in the yard, knock on the neighbor's door and ask for permission. Just a way to get in front of people. Never turn your back on a prospect. Never follow a prospect down the stairs. Be in a place where you have at least one additional exit, no matter where you are. Most of us stay on the main floor in the kitchen, so you sort of have visual eye lines to the front door, and you have a back door. Know what's going to happen in case you get comfortable. And one of the big lessons that we hear over and over is don't do things just because you're being polite. If your spider senses go off, step outside because you're making a phone call. Have your helper, come in. You make sure you're not alone. And a police officer that came and did an open training once told us, hey, if you ever want someone to come drive by the house and just stop in, give us a call, stay outside on the porch, go out to the front yard, holler to a neighbor, let people know, ask people for help. And you never know, because police officers need to buy new homes too. So you might meet a potential client just by, being a little bit safer. Let people know where you are and your timelines. There are great apps for that we were talking about. And then make sure your cell phone is charged and that you have that with you. When you're in the open house, I always rely on sort of the basic qualification lead sheets that we have through KW. This is an old version. I think it's a great one. These are things to always internalize as you're asking people great questions. As we know, the more questions you ask, the better kind of rapport you're going to build with people. So just really try to uncover their motivation. And most importantly, have a goal that you want to do at your open house. I know it says it in the MREA, I know it says it in our classes, but it took me a really long time to figure out that my goal wasn't about doing an open house. My goal wasn't collecting great information. My goal needs to be about setting an appointment. Because if only one person walks in that open house, I need to do everything in my power to get a buyer appointment or a seller appointment on the calendar. I cannot wait for them to leave. I cannot follow up with them Monday. I just have to go in and say, sounds like we had sounds like we should meet. Sounds like we should sit down for coffee. I'd love to educate you on the process. What day works best for you? Find reasons to follow up with them and find reasons to get in front of them at an appointment and really make your goals around that.
So Ben, what do you do if the client doesn't want to supply their contact information?
So, fair housing says we have to treat everyone equally, right? So if our rule is you walk into the open house and you have to fill out this form, you have to leave your cell phone, you have to give certification, that is a non-negotiable, and you need to really draw a line in the sand that this is for everyone's safety. This is not an old script about how we're just pretending that the seller asked for this information. We need to capture everything. They cannot just write, did not provide. They have to give you the correct information and have that conversation with them around whether or not you're going to market to them. If they opt out of marketing, if they say, I do not want you to communicate with me, that's fine as well. Be respectful, be human. But you cannot let people in. And I think the reality is what we're seeing is people who are on the fence and aren't willing to sort of make these concessions with what we need to do, they're not going to even stop in the open house. Like, they're not even going to walk up to the door. If someone's uncomfortable going to a restaurant right now, they're just going to get the takeout. They're going to cook at home. Some people might want to just stop in the open house, but if they're uncomfortable, if they're not willing to do things, they're not going to come in. So treat everyone equally, treat everyone with the same system. This isn't an option. Just like when I work with the buyer, the natural ending to a buyer appointment is we sign paperwork. We don't have to explain why we're doing it. It's just literally part of the system. You qualify a lead, you set up an appointment, you have the appointment, you set up paperwork, you have all the lending squared away, and then you go on showings. Open house, you walk up the steps, you walk in the foyer, you sign the correct paperwork, you get the digital listing, and then you're allowed in the home. There's just no gray area, and if you internalize it and you communicate it, no one will have a problem with it. The outliers, don't worry about them. The 1%, don't worry about them. This is just, be true to what you need to do, and it'll come across as just, here are the rules.
Awesome. Thanks, Ben.
You're welcome. So follow up with people, just have a system around that. Everything is systems. Have a little kit. You know, think of everything that we've been talking about today, what Teresa's been talking about, what you've heard in other classes. Don't bring toilet paper. I scratched that off. Bring paper towels, disinfect it, pens, you know, bake cookies, but don't pass out food. You know, be prepared. I always like doorstop. I love having a measuring tape. And just be prepared for a safe, clean environment. And that's, you know, you can always get help, command, connect, me, Joe, your TLs, your OPs, and that is all I have to talk about, but welcome any questions that's in the chat box or any questions from Joe, or any great ideas that anyone else has had that they put into practice lately that they want to share with the group.
What's that drip? So you get, so say you get 10 contacts through your, you know, open house, whatever it may be. What does your follow-up plan look like with them once you get the contact on, say, I don't know, Saturday or Sunday? What's that look like for the next 7 days?
Sure. Well, I absolutely love that my follow-up plan has now started within the first 30 seconds of them walking in the door, right? Like what I first do is I have the link to my, the KW listing on just my, you know, name.kw.com email or web page. It gives them the prompt to download the app if they want to, which is awesome. But they have that sort of information right away, and it just has my information. Thank you so much for coming into my open house today. Benjamin Jones, email, phone number, you know, Lucido Agency with Keller Williams. And they get that before they step foot in there. So that starts the follow-up plan because they have my contact info, they have my website, they have the opportunity to sign in and interact with that website. After the open house, it's that instant follow-up, and best practice, guys, send a video, but record the video earlier in the day when you're fresh. You know, the last thing we want to do is smile and put on a show when we've been talking to people for 4 hours and we've been picking up our signs in the hot 98-degree sun. So record a fresh video, make it generic and vague, just put that face to the name, memory. Hey, it was awesome meeting you today. You know, thank you for coming into my open house. If you ever have any questions, I'm here as a resource for you. You know, save my number in your phone. And immediately, because they were in that neighborhood or based on the conversation that you had, this is why I love the certification waiver. I love having one big page that I can just write notes on as soon as they go upstairs or downstairs. I, you know, get their dog's name, I get where they currently live, I get any information that I have about them so that I can immediately put them in my database. I can put them on a neighborhood nurture so that they get twice a month information about what is going on in their preferred neighborhood. Maybe it's not that one, maybe it's a different one. And it allows them to, you know, to instantly get that, you know, Monday morning, they have already would have had a regular text from me, a link to my website, a video from me, and then they're in my database with a neighborhood nurture that they get first thing Monday morning. And then if you have not already had that opportunity to talk to them about meeting for a Zoom one-on-one, you know, connecting them with a lender, you have things to follow up with them about. Call, text, email, figure out what their plan is. Are they 60 days out? Are they 6 months out? Just make sure that you have some sort of system to get them to an appointment if that's what you should do, or nurture them so that you can continue to stay in touch with them on that longer term basis. But, you know, I think those first 24, 48 hours are key, and more important, those first 30 seconds are key.
Any other questions, Q&A for Ben? Awesome. Well, thank you, Ben.
10 minutes early.
Yeah, right. All right. So let
Okay.
me, I'm going to share this just for some updates, and we will get out of here before 12. So I'm going back over here, bring up just some upcoming events per the region, just so everybody's aware of it. Oh, I guess I went to the start here. Sorry about that. Come on. So upcoming events, we have Bold Pivot is beginning. Yeah.
Sorry, I saw one more question that I actually think is really important in here, so I'm just going to cut you right off. Someone asked about supplying PPE. So we kind of know the lay of the land, so people should have their own face masks, protective thing. However, I do have, you know, a small stack of just the regular sort of basic face masks that are, you know, one-time use, hand sanitizer, and some extra gloves for giveaways. So I think it's great to have a few extra things on there for people who are coming in if they, you know, happen to. I have had neighbors who have stopped in who are, you know, out walking their dog and they weren't intending on going in the open house. And, you know, instead of turning them away, I was able to give them some just basic generic PPE. And we're able to find it more and more. Ace Hardware's have it, you know, all the stores seem to have it. So I think it's a great idea to have extras in case you do have that neighbor who wasn't intending to do anything social distancing right there. So good news for everyone. And then for more information, please take Bold Pivot, because you're going to learn some best practices across the country that way.
Awesome. Yeah, so we got Bold Pivot. It's going to be $99. You can go under mapscoaching.com. It's a 4-week duration. Starts August 4th. So it's a huge discount there, and it's definitely a great accountability for you for 2 days a week and getting into lead generation during this piece. Going to CV Light, so anybody that has questions on leverage and hiring and making your first hire, it also helps out with managing and leading your people. So that is going to be a free event. The registration is through Eventbrite. We've sent that out to the region. It's also going to be posted on social media accounts as well. That's from 1 to 3 p.m. next, next Tuesday, the 14th, with Bo Mankitti, our regional director, and Tony Brody, who's the regional owner in Maryland and DC. Going into the next one, just to wrap up, every successful business professional I know is constantly learning, reading, and growing in their field. This is the part around education being, our KW being training and education focus for your growth. Don't have to, you know, the peanut gallery, talking to the peanut gallery on that one. So going to the next one, regional resources, you have the regional YouTube video or account. This training will actually be uploaded onto that. You've got the regional tech Facebook page for updates on command. And then we've got the regional Facebook page as well as Instagram page here. And this will always be for our links at the regional level, will be at kwvameeting.com. Stronger together. And thank you for joining today, and have a great finish out to your week. See you, everybody.
Thank you, Joe.
Hey, thanks. That was great.
More than welcome.